Hey folks, in this series we're going to learn how to model and animate this product animation of a perfume bottle. It's going to be fairly straightforward. We're going to be working from a reference image which can be found on my website. I'll leave a link in the description. We're going to be using this image, so just simply right click, save as, and save in a directory of your choosing. So without further ado, let's get to it. Open up Blender. Before we start, we're going to have to enable 3 add-ons that come shipped with Blender. To do that, I've got my screencast keys here, so if you're wondering what I'm clicking at any point, all the key strikes are down here in the bottom right hand corner. So to enable the add-ons, we go to Edit, Preferences, and then for the first one we're going to search Node Wrangler. So just type in Node Wrangler appears there. Click the checkbox. Once you've done that, the second add-on is going to be Loop Tools, so type in Loop, Mesh, Loop Tools, click the checkbox. Once you've done that, we'll add the third and final one, which is going to be Import Export Images as Planes, so just type in Images, and then click the checkbox. Once you've clicked all 3 of those, click this option down here, click Save Preferences. By doing this, it will ensure that the add-ons will open up every time you open up Blender. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is we're going to add that reference image, this one. We're going to then drag it so the world origin, where the cursor is at the moment, we want the base of the perfume bottle to be on that point. And get it as close as possible. It doesn't have to be perfect, but you know, it does help. I'm also going to select this image and go on to the reference image settings. I'm going to turn on opacity, say around about 0.5. That way we can see the grid behind. I'm then going to hit G, X, and drag it. Oh, I've already kind of centered it. This tube here is the exact center point, so I'm going to hit G, X, and drag it across on the X-axis, so it's, you know, roughly centered. From here, I want to scale this entire image, so this line here, where the lid joins, is in perpendicular to this line here. So that will be equate to 3 units high, or 3 meters high. We will scale it back down when we come to render it, because scale is very important when you want to set up your camera properly. So I'm going to go to origin, well, pivot point. I'm going to select the 3D cursor, and then I'm going to scale it so it's on that line. Perfect. From there, I'm going to go into side view, and I'm going to drag that reference image back a couple of units, just so it doesn't get in the way of modelling. I'll go back to front view, I'll select the pivot point, and I'll go back to median points. From here, I'm going to Shift A, add mesh, cube, good old default cube. I'm going to go into edit mode, make sure all the vertices are selected. I'm going to hit G, Z, and I'm going to actually hit Control so it snaps to the grid. I mean, you can turn on snapping up here so you don't have to push Control, but we won't do that because, well, we're probably going to need a bit more manual control. From here, I'm going to select these top vertices. It's important to be in X-ray view, by the way, because if you just box select there, you're not going to select the back vertices, whereas when we're in X-ray mode, with our box select, and it's selected the back vertices as well. It's quite handy to have that feature in Blender. And then I'm going to hit G, Z, I'm going to hit Control to snap it. From there, I'm going to select all the vertices. I'm going to hit S, Shift Z, so that will scale on every axis except for the Z axis. So round about there. I'm then going to hit Control R to add a loop cut. I'm going to scale that loop cut up, and then going to hit Shift B to bevel that. and then from there I'm actually going to drag this up, G, Z, and then I'm going to scale that down to around about there. So what we've got so far is this shape here, not too complicated. From there I'm going to go back into X-ray mode. I'm going to add another loop cut here to be in line with where the lid's going to be sliced off. From there I'm going to select these loop cuts, so I'm going to put hit 2, so 2 is edge select, 1 is vertice select, and 3 is face select. So I'm going to select 2, I'm going to hit shift out, and then that will select the whole edge, shift out, select the whole edge, continue around. From there I'm going to hit Control B and to bevel that. And now to get the kind of shape of the perfume bottle a bit more refined, I'm going to click the pivot point, I'm going to scale it on individual oranges, I'm going to select that edge will go into X-ray, I'm going to select this edge, I'm going to select this edge, and then we're going to scale that up, like so. On the bottom edges we're actually going to select the other edges here, so shift select these edges, and then I'm going to scale them down. Let's just get out of X-ray, see what I've got so far. Okay, happy with the progress so far. Now I'm going to add some loop cuts here. It might seem a bit irrelevant at the moment, but because I'll be using vertex groups with a bevel modifier and a subdivision modifier, this will just help the modifiers work more efficiently, and so we won't have any errors. So I'm going to add loop cut there, 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 there, and there. From there I'm going to add one here, I'm going to add one here, I'm going to add one here and here. Okie dokie. So I'm going to go into face select, I'm going to select the top face, I'm then going to hit Control plus, which will increase your selection. I'm going to hit P, which is separate by selection, and now that is its own part. So I'm going to hide that from the viewport. We're going to select this object here, I'm going to select that edge loop, so that's shift out and select, and that will select the whole edge loop. I'm going to hit E, S, and then hit Control to snap it. I'm also going to do it one more time, E, S, and then I'm going to go into top view mode. With that edge loop selected, I'm going to hit right click, loop tools, and then circle. Oh, what's gone on there? I must have had something else selected here. No? Why is that doing that? Oh, I've got individual origins. I want to select median point. So I'll just select that edge loop. I'm going to right click, loop tools, circle, and basically that will create a circle. Sometimes you'll find when you hit create circle with loop tools, it will be misaligned, so you can always fine tune it using these settings down here. Right, from here I'm now going to select all the edges that I want to be beveled by the bevel modifier, so I'll add them to this vertex group over here, which is the triangle with the 3 dots. So I'm going to select this edge loop, select this edge loop, this edge loop, this edge loop, this edge loop, this one, this one, this one, this one, this one, and these two over here. I'm also going to select the inner edge loop. Now it's obviously selected these top ones, so I'm going to circle select and deselect them. I've actually got this mapped to a button on my mouse, but usually it's mapped to the middle mouse click. So you push C, middle mouse click, middle mouse click, middle mouse click, and so on, and that will deselect everything. If you just normal click, then it selects, adds the selection, whereas middle mouse click will take it away from the selection. Once you've done that, you right click, and then I'm going to add a vertex group, click assign. I might rename it to bevel. But before we add the bevel, we're going to add a modifier, which is going to be a solidify modifier. Say we'll give it a value of 0.1. We'll click even thickness. When you add the bevel modifier, it's a good idea to keep an eye on the inside, because what you don't want to happen is overlappage. We need enough breathing room, because we're going to duplicate this to add on the inside as liquid, but that will come in a minute, you'll see. So for now, we'll add the solidify modifier. We're going to click apply. It's also important, after we've applied it, to go into edit mode, add a loop cut here, and we will remove that from the vertex group. So when we've done that, we go back into our modifiers. We then add a bevel modifier. We'll reduce it down to say 0.025. We'll give it 4 cuts. We're going to go shade smooth, and we'll add a subdivision surface. You can add the subdivision surface through here, but the way I like to do it is hit Control 2, and that will add a subdivision surface at level 2. For some reason my bevels haven't appeared. Oh yep, so at the moment it's got angle limit method for the bevel modifier, so we want to add that to vertex group instead, and then select the bevel vertex group we created. Smooth as butter, lovely. So from here we should really be looking at adding the liquid, so we'll add the liquid now. So what I'm going to do is click Shift D to duplicate. I'm going to drag it on the x-axis and click X to snap it. And we're going to delete the outer skin, we're going to keep the inner skin, and add another solidify to slightly offset it, because what we don't want is the liquid model to intersect with the faces of the glass model, otherwise we'll get errors. Upon rendering, it will usually come out with black streaks and stuff like that. So with this model selected, I'm going to go into edit mode, go into face select mode, select the bottom face. I'm going to keep clicking Control plus until I've got all but the bottom vertices. You can always click back, so I want to click up to that point and hit X and delete vertices. So now we've got this model here. I'm actually going to add a solidify modifier again. We're going to mute the bevel and the subdivision surface for now. So we want the solidify modifier to solidify on the inside with a value of about 0.1. We're just going to select that, click apply, and then we're going to go into edit mode. We're going to face select that bottom one. We're going to Control plus and then delete faces. Oh, we've still got a ridge here. We've got to make sure that we get rid of that. So X, delete faces. From here, I'm going to select vertice mode. So numpad 1, well not numpad 1, number 1. and then I'm going to hit Control F, which for grid fill. So another great feature of Blender. I'm going to top view, and I'm going to click the offset until it's nicely lined up with the camera, because you know, good topology is a good practice. From here, we're going to activate the bevel modifier and the subdivision modifier. Sometimes you'll find that all your normals are facing the wrong way when we've deleted the outside skin. So to check that, I'm going to go into face orientation. Blue is good, red is bad. So in order to change that, we're going to select all the vertices, we're going to go to mesh, normals, flip. And this is going to serve as our liquid. So I'm going to drag that back over across on the x-axis. I'm going to snap it. From here, well, let's get rid of that face orientation. From here, we can now work on this brass piece here. Should be fairly easy to do. So I'm going to select the outer skin with these inner vertices selected, these ones here. So I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate. I'm going to P by selection, so that's going to separate the selection, go out of edit mode, and then select that piece there, which is just this. From here, I'm going to select all the vertices in edit mode. It's coming up to around about this line here, so I'm going to hit E, Z to extrude up. I might even take, yeah, no, we'll take it up to here. And then E, S to scale. And then going to add a loop cut here. I'm going to hit Control B. I'm going to go hit E for extrude, scale, S, and then Shift Z so it scales on every axis but the Z axis. We'll just scale it in a bit for a bit of extra detail. From here, we'll select these loops. I'm going to hit E, Z, and just drag that down. I'm then going to duplicate that. So duplicate, and then maybe scale it in just a tiny bit. And then going to hit E, Z, and then E, S, and then Control F for grid fill again. Go to top view, let's align that. Don't click out of this. If you click somewhere else, these options down here will disappear. So click that, and we'll change the offset until it's at a satisfactory angle. Now we're going to add the subdivision and bevel to this item as well. So we're going to have to add vertex groups, but to do that we're going to have to add edge loops in between every beveled area. So I'm going to add one there, I'm going to add one there, I'm going to add one there, we'll add one there, we'll add one there, we'll add one there, we'll add one there. Now let's go into the edge select. I'll tell you what, let's hide this item and we'll hide this item. So go back into edit mode with this selected, go to edge select, I'm going to select these edges, select these edges, shift out, select these edges, this edge. Ooh. Then we go into the vertex options. I'm gonna hit assign. And I might tighten the bevel up on this item because obviously that seems a bit too big. There we go, nice and tight. Excellent. I think it's time to actually start naming these now. So I'm going to go perfume bottle, perfume lid, click spray, liquid, right. For the lid, we're going to want it to adopt the same settings at the same modifiers as what the perfume bottles has, but before we can do that, again, we're going to add some. Oh, I've already added a loop there. Maybe I'll select the top face. I'm going to hit I to inset. I'm going to hit X to delete faces. I'm then going to go into edge select, shift out, select that top loop, and then going to hit Control F for grid fill, go into top view, change the offset just to improve topology a bit. I'm going to go into face select, select these 4 faces and scale them in. Because I'm quite fussy about this, actually, I'm going to select these vertices and then I'm going to scale them out slightly. Excellent, that'll do. Right, so I'm going to select all of them. I'm going to remove the vertex group. Oh no, there isn't a vertex group anyway, so we're going to add the vertex group now. So I'm going to go to 2 for edge select, and select the vertex group. So I want to add to the bevel modifier. I'm going to hit C, remove these edges from the selection, they don't need to be beveled at all. I'm going to go to vertex group, add a sign, and then I'm going to shift select the perfume bottle. I'm then going to hit Control L to link the modifiers, which will copy the modifiers. On the modifier tab for the bevel, I'm going to have to change that from bevel to group because I didn't name it. And yeah, we just add the little tube on the inside. So from here, I'm going to hide that from the bottle and the liquid and the lid from the viewport. I want to set my origin point sort of center here, so I'm going to select this piece, I'm going to select this bottom loop, actually I'll select this middle loop here, I'm going to hit Shift S and then cursor to selected, go out of edit mode. Well, actually no, I can make that the same object. So from here I'm going to hit Shift D to duplicate that loop. I'm going to scale it down. I'm going to bring it up on the Z axis, G, Z. Scale it down a bit more. And then going to hit E, Z, bring that down to here. I'm probably going to have to get my liquid back into the scene. G, Z. We'll add a few edge loops. Choose that middle edge loop there. I'm then going to use proportional editing, so if I push O on the numpad, O in the keyboard, it's going to go to proportional editing, and what that means is when I hit G and I scroll my mouse wheel, it's going to have a fall off. It's quite handy, quite a useful little tool. So I'm going to hit X, G, X, scroll my mouse wheel around about there. I'm then going to go to side view, G, Y, and we'll just bend it around that way a bit, slightly as well. Okay, now there is one thing I forgot to do on this model. It's quite an important part actually. So I'm going to select the perfume bottle and the liquid, and select them both at the same time. And the reason why is because the bottom of a perfume bottle is always slightly thicker. So if I've got my liquid, then I shift select the perfume bottle. I should have them both selected and go into X-ray mode. When I go into edit mode, then I'm going to select all these inner vertices, and I'm going to hit G, Z, oh hang on, turn off proportional editing, hit 0, or O, then G, Z, we're going to bring these up, and also to scale them on every axis but the Z axis, so hit S, shift Z, and then around about there. That should do nicely. Excellent. I'm going to tackle the little hole at the top here. Shouldn't be too difficult. I'm going to hide the perfume lid. I'll select this little item here. Gonna Control R to add a loop cut, 2 loop cuts in fact, no, just the one loop cut. I have to remove that from the vertex group, remove. Model this slightly off, so I'm going to have to select this whole model here, and then I'm going to rotate it on the Z axis until we've got a flat face pointing forwards. So I go into X-ray mode, I'm going to hit R, Z, oh no, R, Z, go out of X-ray mode, go to face select, I'm going to select this front face here, I'm going to hit I, I'm then going to extrude it inwards, so E, Y, just a tiny bit, then E, Y again, a bit more, and then E, Y, a little bit more. I'm then going to hit, so we can see what we're doing, we'll turn off subdivision. I'm then going to hit I to inset, and I again to inset again, I again to inset one more time, then we're going to go E, a tiny bit, E, a little bit more, E, a tiny bit, and I. And then we're going to hit I one more time, well 2 more times. Followed by E, E. So if I enable the subdivision surface, that should round it off quite well. I'm going to shift out select this edge here, and then we're just going to extrude that out just a little bit by clicking E, and we'll just bring it out to give it a nice little bit of bevel there. So that's the sprayer. So that concludes part 1 of the tutorial series. There's another 2 parts, so the next part should be fairly straightforward. It's just materials. Part 3, obviously, we're going to cover lighting and animation. So I hope you enjoyed this episode. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you soon.